Car Cost Canada provides the dealer's cost, a list of rebates, plus discounted interest rates. Use the promo code Motormouth to become an expert member and get access to exclusive and powerful savings. The link is in the description below. Say hello to the Lincoln Corsair, formerly known as the MKC. This vehicle was just redone alongside its cousin on the Ford side, the all-new Escape, sharing the same platform, but they've run away with a different execution, and you'll really notice that when you get inside this vehicle as well. I love the way that Lincoln is going back to classic sort of romantic names. Back in the heyday of American luxury with Lincoln and Cadillac battling it out, through all those decades, their vehicles had romantic names. And now Lincoln is going back. The latest is Aviator. I encourage you to click on the card here to watch a review I did of that vehicle not that long ago. Navigator's been around a long time, Nautilus is out, and now Corsair. And that's exactly what Lincoln's trying to do. They're trying to get some romance back into their brand. They're trying to resurrect what I call traditional American luxury. They do it with healthy accents of chrome. This one has the upsized wheels that are 20 inches. The base model comes with 18 inches. You've got the light bar that goes side to side, and Lincoln proudly displayed across the back of the vehicle. Compact luxury SUVs, the heart of the luxury marketplace. The best sellers for brands like BMW is the X3, for Audi is the Q5, for Mercedes-Benz is the GLC, and this is going to be a real cornerstone for Lincoln. So let's get in, go for a drive, have a look around. I'll tell you more about Corsair. Now, it's been a few years since I drove the old MKC, but my number one thing I remember about well, two things basically that I remember about driving that model is that the 2.3 liter Ecoboost engine, the turbocharged engine, sucked gas, and that it was a cheap and cheerful, warmed over version of a Ford Escape. Well, that 2.3 liter engine is still available, and that's the one I'm driving here today, but it seems to be getting much better fuel economy than I remember. The good news is, and this is the one I would go for, it's available on the base model and the higher end reserve trim. You can get the same 2 liter Ecoboost engine that's available in the Ford Escape. And I just drove that last week, so I'm doing a back-to-back comparison, and I can tell you, if it was my money, I would save my money and just buy the 2 liter. I think it's more than capable, and it's very competitive with a lot of other luxury vehicles. It's right on the money for the competitive set. Most of this compact sort of SUV luxury space have 250, 255. So that's the engine I would pick. Now, both the 2 liter and this 2.3 liter Ecoboost are married to an 8-speed automatic transmission, and there is no fault at all with the engine transmission combination. This engine's been out for a while. It's used in other Ford products like the Mustang. It delivers good power. So 250 for the 2 liter and 280 if you get this 2.3. Trust me, get the 2 liter. Now, the last two Lincoln SUVs I drove, the Navigator and the Aviator, have optional air suspension. I think the Navigator is standard equipment, but I don't love air suspension. It's too floaty, too soft. This vehicle has passive shocks, actually passive springs, but the shocks are adaptive. You have a drive mode here, and you can change it from its sort of normal setting to what I like to drive in, which is Excite. And that gets you the stiffer settings for the suspension, plus it wakes up the engine and the transmission combo to deliver a much more engaging drive. I like this combo better than air suspension because that real floaty, disconnected feel is not in this vehicle at all. It actually feels really quite connected, even European. When you have it in the Excite mode, it handles quite well. It really works off this great new platform that Ford is using for both Escape and for this Corsair. So that is a strong point. The suspension, in my opinion, in this product is better than the Aviator that I drove recently. Now, one thing they have added to the rear suspension of this vehicle is an integrated bushing in the rear end that they claim absorbs more shocks and vibration before it even gets to the rest of the cabin. So mission accomplished. They're trying to, as I mentioned, get that traditional luxury feel of having the driver coddled on the inside, and it works to a certain extent, but not nearly as much as those other Lincoln products. So what Lincoln is trying to do with this Corsair, and they're doing it through the rest of the lineup, is to have a sanctuary on the inside. And this is where I think that Lincoln has the greatest opportunity to pull buyers into this brand. When you get inside, it certainly has a different look than what the Germans are doing. You have a bit more of a wow factor in terms of chrome and finishes and materials. So they've done a good job on most things. On some things, they're still sort of falling behind. For example, on the front doors, you've got nice soft touch materials on the top, the center panel, and the armrest. When you get into the back seat, that center part is hard plastic. And that is just a corner cutting exercise that I don't think serves them any favors. Then you get to the bottom part of the doors. This is a pet peeve of mine for premium brands. The bottom part of the doors have hard plastic. Now that is unfortunately becoming a trend. I saw it with Mercedes-Benz with the latest GLE, and the new Q8 has hard plastic on the bottom. So Lincoln isn't alone in that regard. When you look above basically your waist and your knee point here at the front of this cabin, there is a bit of a wow factor here. Lots of stitched padding on the dashboard, a nice contrast of chrome and materials. They have like a faux wood here that goes across the center of the dash. That all looks good. And the seats, these are optional, but they have 20-way adjustments and they're massage enabled as well. You just push a button here, and on the large screen you have massage feature that you can access. Now, do you really use that a lot? I'm not sure. Are you really willing to spend top dollar to get it? I don't know about that. But the thing is, this car has that as an available option, and credit where credit is due. Some people might like it. Now, speaking of the center screen, it's an 8-inch unit. It's the same sort of basic platform underneath. It's the Sync 3 system they use on the Ford side and here on the Lincoln side. It could be better differentiated between the two brands, but I have to say it's much faster than it ever has been in the past. It works well. That is not a weak point. It's not a strong point. It just does the job it's asked to do. In behind the steering wheel, 12.3-inch screen. You get that slightly customizable, not as customizable as I saw on the new Ford Escape, but it does certainly have the latest technology, which is a digital dashboard. The back seat is quite roomy. Same with the new Ford Escape. You get that here with this Corsair. Plenty of room. The seats recline in the back. The seats slide forward about 6 inches to give you more space in the back cargo area if you need it. Now, speaking of the cargo area at the back, there are releases on the right-hand side that fold those second row seats down automatically, which is a nice touch. Now, there are lots of options available for this car, and I think if you're realistic about what you need versus what you want, you can get this product fairly well equipped for not a ton of money, and I'll get to the price in the end. But right now, let's continue driving. There's a couple of things I want to talk about. Now, one thing that Lincoln has in their latest products is the Revel audio system, and it is fantastic. So if you're somebody that likes good audio in their car, give this a try. One thing I love, one thing I don't love. The head-up display in the Lincoln products is got to be the best, if not the best, one of the best in the business. It's large. It's easy to read. You can read it with sunglasses. Now, the sunglasses I have today are not polarized, but I can read that no problem. And that is much better. That's a proper head-up display compared to the cheap, flimsy plastic thing they have in the new Ford Escape. Now, regular viewers know I live in Vancouver, the wet coast it's called, the West Coast. Or if you live in the US, like the Pacific Northwest near Seattle, it rains here a lot in the winter. And my negative is the automatic windshield wipers are terrible. They're not very highly sensitive and adaptable. So I'm always turning the windshield wipers on and off. Part of a luxury vehicle is the car does all of that for you. And this is not good. I had the same experience in the Ford Escape. And then when I got into this, I thought, okay, I have to mention it because that is a negative. Also, one thing I noticed when I was shooting the outside of this vehicle, there's a piece of paneling on the inside of the wheel well, a felt section that's meant to insulate the cabin from noise on the inside of the car has kind of falling away from the inside of the wheel well. Now, I'm sure that's not real sort of condemnation of the build quality of this. It's just something I thought I'd show you. Now, what's my overall feeling of this Corsair? Well, Lincoln is heading in the right direction. I like the new naming structure. I like the look of these on the outside. It has a bit of an Audi back end to it with the clam shape look to the lift gate. That light bar that runs across the outside is something that's being used a lot in the industry. I like the way this one feels compared to the other Lincolns I've driven lately. It's much more planted and connected. It has a driver's feel to it when you want it to, and a relaxed feel when you want it to. I found with the Aviator, it was too soft, even in its most aggressive settings. So of the Lincoln products, this one is the one that I enjoy driving the most. Some of the other ones I think are nicer on the inside, but this one certainly has a different approach. Once again, credit where credit's due. Lincoln is trying at least to differentiate their Lincoln brand from the Ford brand. There is some Ford DNA in here and you can see it, but the execution is different, and I like that and I appreciate that. And this sort of traditional American luxury feel does have a lot of fans, you'd be surprised. This starts at a very competitive $44,000. The Reserve, the higher end trim, the one we have here, starts at $50,000 in the Canadian market, but the one you see here is equipped with $14,000 of add-ons to the tune of $64,000, and part of that is the more powerful 2.3 liter engine. Now, I think if you just like the basic look and shape and size of this Corsair, you could get by with the lower horsepower car, no problem at all, and maybe even the base model. That's competitively priced. The higher end vehicles, you know they're going to be a discount at Lincoln. Now, for all those naysayers out there, Ford, General Motors, even Chrysler, they can all make great products when they put their mind to it. Ford is definitely putting a lot of attention towards the Lincoln brand. This is a much improved version of the old MKC, now called Corsair. It drives well, there's plenty of power, it's a nice size, nice design. It's a twist on old traditional American luxury, and it's good to see that they're actually trying at Lincoln. Car Cost Canada provides the dealer's cost, a list of rebates, plus discounted interest rates. Use the promo code Motormouth to become an expert member and get access to exclusive and powerful savings. The link is in the description below.